There you go. President Trump announcing moments ago that they are going to be going to Memphis, Tennessee with the National Guard to help solve the crime issue in that city. That news breaking here in the last few minutes, along with, as you may have heard just now, bottom of the hour on our Fox News hit, they have a suspect in custody in the assassination of Charlie Kirk from 2 days ago in Utah. So that is outstanding news breaking here this morning in the 7 o'clock hour on KCMO Talk Radio. So I just got this text to the show, and I wanted to share it with you. It's from a listener named Scott. He writes into our text line, 913-408-7957. Pete, at my golf club on Wednesday, I was taken aback by how many 20-somethings approached me asking if I knew who Charlie Kirk was and if I had heard the horrible news. I wasn't aware of how incredible he was and how popular he was among the young men and women. I'm praying for his family and for our country. That is from Scott on the text line, 913-408-7957. And this is something that, to the credit of local media here in Kansas City, they went to some of our area college campuses where Charlie Kirk had been. He had been to KU as recently as last spring. He was at UMKC a couple of years back. Just after 8 o'clock, I will play an interview that I did with Charlie Kirk back in 2020. So I'll replay that for you here 5.5 years later, 2 days after he was tragically assassinated in Utah. But when you hear from these young people in particular, you'll start to understand what he meant to younger millennials in particular, and then Gen Z. And it wasn't just because of his ideas, but it was because he went to where a lot of these young people felt like total outcasts. And that's on college campuses across the country. Charlie Kirk wasn't just a guy behind a microphone. He was a guy who said, yeah, I've got the microphone, but I'm also coming to you. I'll be there for you. I will show up on your college campus. I will do these events. I will debate with people who literally do not think you deserve to have a voice. Right? Because so much of this, as we've talked about over the last 48 hours, has been people viewing speech as violence. Speech can never be violence. At its core, it's impossible for speech to be violence. But sadly, we've gotten to the sick and twisted place in this country where some people view speech as violence. And Charlie Kirk showed up with a smile on his face, a twinkle in his eye, never was aggressive, never got worked up. Trust me, for any hater, find a video of Charlie Kirk getting mad at someone he's debating. He may get passionate. You will not find the video of Charlie Kirk getting genuinely mad at somebody who is screaming at him, yelling at him, debating him, whatever it might be. He rarely lost his cool, if ever. And that's something that was clear, and KCTV5 did a good job with this last night. We'll listen to it on KCMO.
So he came right here to KU and UMKC to talk, listen, and debate ideas. Students I spoke with today say that left a lasting impact on their lives.
He taught me so much about being patient with people.
Nathan Hale is a student at UMKC who says Charlie Kirk had a huge impact on his life.
A big thing I learned from him was always be reading, always be listening, always be hearing different perspectives.
He took this video last spring when Charlie Kirk came to KU, an event put on by Turning Point USA, which Hale volunteered at.
And he took time to take a picture with every single one of us and shake our hands, and he didn't have to do that.
This signed book still reminds him of that day. And when he heard the news that Kirk had been shot and killed at an event on a college campus, it was deep shock and sadness.
Violence is never the answer.
Today, he's focused on Kirk's message to students.
Civil disagreement and voicing your opinions in a rational way and not creating an environment that's hostile because of it.
And Hale says while Kirk was only 31 years old, he believes he'll leave a lasting impact on college students for generations to come.
I think his legacy will be completely reforming the way that we have debate and civil discourse in our country.
That's exactly right. The key phrase is said there by that KU student on Charlie Kirk's legacy. Patience with people, listening, embracing different perspectives, civil disagreement. Trust me, I see a lot of this nonsense on social media, even from, sadly, people that I unfortunately share an employer with, who are just grossly misstating the facts about what Charlie Kirk was all about. And they say these things without having anything to back it up because they rarely have the facts right to begin with. And I know it's a shocker, they don't have the facts right again. Charlie was not aggressive. He was not somebody who was looking to shout you down. In fact, he was in many ways the antithesis of those who hated him. He smiled. He wanted to debate. He wanted to go back and forth and share ideas. He actually wanted to try to convince you why he thought you were wrong and bring you to his side. That's at his core what he wanted to do, knowing full well that the majority of the people he was going to debate probably were not going to have their minds and hearts opened up to what he was going for. But he went for it every time. And that's why for this generation in particular, he did have such a massive impact on them. And that's where I know, this texter was getting at when he said, I couldn't believe the amount of 20-somethings that came up to me and said, did you see what happened to Charlie Kirk? Because he was the leading voice on this issue at a time when so many of these young people felt like they didn't have a voice, especially the last few years. Like, I graduated college in 2010. And while, Villanova certainly leaned left in the student population, it wasn't overly noticeable. I did some things with the Villanova Republicans, but, it just was a different time, too, in American history. The last several years has just been completely turned upside down. And that's why Charlie Kirk's timing in American history was also so important to the cause that he was taking up. And I pulled this clip from a couple of months ago when Charlie Kirk sat down with California Governor Gavin Newsom. I remember watching it at the time. But this is Gavin Newsom admitting on his podcast where he talked to Charlie Kirk, credit to both guys for having the conversation, that Gavin Newsom's niece and even Gavin Newsom's son were all in on embracing and liking Charlie Kirk. And take a listen to this minute-long clip between these two guys.
By the way, what brings you to California, your favorite state?
It is this thing's falling. It is my favorite state in the union. You're doing such a great job here, by the way. No, I'm honored to be on the show. Thank you. And
you were just down at USC?
I was at USC yesterday, drew a big crowd.
By the way, I knew you were at USC early because my niece, who's graduating.
She was the one with the MAGA hat on.
She was... By the way, I do have to watch, but she was down there and she was like, she said,
you never know. These kids are going to the right.
I'm aware. She said, this crowd's crazy. He said, and the only reason she said, she would have said it perhaps otherwise, but she knew you were coming on. The worst part though, Charlie, no BS, true story. Literally last night, trying to put my son to bed. He's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie going to be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming. I'm like, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is,
you canceled school for like 2 years. One day.
The point is the point, which is you are making a damn dent.
Thanks.
That's 1 minute and 6 seconds. There is so much brilliance in there, including that final zinger. Wait, Gavin Newsom, you canceled school for 2 years. You can't let your kid take off a day to meet me? When Charlie Kirk was changing the hearts and minds of Gavin Newsom's son, you know he was on to something. And that's why, in many ways, he was so dangerous to his political opponents. Because he didn't do it through outrageous rants. He didn't do it through leaning into the outrage conspiracy theory craziness. People tried to make him out to be that, but it really wasn't any part of who Charlie Kirk was. It's because he was so damn effective. At a time in American history when young people in particular needed it and were craving it. And many of them didn't even realize they were craving it. But then they listened, and for millions of them, they found Charlie. And that's why his legacy is going to be an entire generation of young people in particular who have, yes, shifted politically, moving and taking and carrying that torch forward. Our buddy Nick Haynes, Kansas City PBS, will run through the top stories of the week in Kansas City with us. I will be on his show tonight, Week in Review, airing at 7 p.m. on Kansas City PBS. So we'll have Nick on the show, run through the top stories in town next. But right now, your final chance to meet NASCAR driver Nick Sanchez. Tour the Hauler, meet Nick Sanchez. He's coming to Kansas City at the Speedway on September 27th. Seventh caller, 913-408-7957.